Hey everybody, Alex here for Nerdy Inc. Coming at you with another episode of Our Favorite Frontier, the only Star Trek podcast on the internet that's hosted by me and Nick. Hey Nick.
Hey Alex, how are you?
I could be better.
You could be better.
I could be better.
But what's going on?
Well, I watched this episode.
Okay.
This episode is called Angel 1.
Captain's log, stardate 41636.9. As feared, our examination of the 7-year overdue Federation freighter Odin, disabled by an asteroid collision, revealed no life signs. However, 3 escape pods were missing, suggesting the possibility of survivors.
Nick, what did you think of Angel 1?
I think Angel 1 was not one of the worst episodes I've seen.
That's fair.
It at least kept me interested, and I felt like there was a plot line that I could follow. Still having some of the pitfalls of earlier episodes I had a problem with, but overall, at least something I could follow.
Yes, it's very sad when the highest praise you can give an episode is, well, the story was competent.
That is exactly how it was.
It made sense. So let's dig in here. Obviously this episode is sort of a gender role questioning this and that. What I didn't know, I just looked this up right now just because I was interested, because I always have the Wikipedia page up on my phone just to have any quick information at the ready. Apparently this was meant to be an allegory for apartheid.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we were watching an episode about apartheid, rather than just good old-fashioned sexism. That wasn't sexy enough, so they had to make it about apartheid. Did you get any of that through the episode? Did you feel like they were discussing that?
I did not gain any insight on apartheid throughout watching that episode. And you know how much I love apartheid. And when I say love apartheid, I mean love talking about apartheid as a subject, not as an I like the concept of apartheid as a guideline.
Well, I love apartheid as a guideline, and I still didn't get anything out of this episode.
You like apartheid as a guideline?
I was making a joke.
Okay, I was I was like, well, I know it's been a little hectic here in the USA lately. I didn't know what kind of conversation I was having.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, this episode, I hate this episode for 117 different reasons. The main reason is that it failed so spectacularly at portraying and making you feel anything about equality. It didn't make you feel inspired about equality. What I got out of this, and obviously the world has changed since 1980, whatever this aired, I got a very weird vibe of like men's rights activist out of this, basically saying, see, this is why what happens when feminism goes rampant, basically. And obviously it was not meant to say women should be in charge. It's great, but to me it got this vibe of, this is what happens when you let women take over. They try to put down men, and given where we are right now, where militant feminism and feminazis are phrases that are used in very legitimately, this episode, I hated this episode.
I think it's a very poor portrayal of just mankind, one, and of this gender role switch. They were really poking that bear with this. You know, they were really saying how this is a really black and white issue, and that if women took over, or in a woman-dominated society, they would really make the male inferiors pretty much inhuman slaves. And I thought that was just really strange.
Yeah, I obviously there are assholes in the world, in general. I'm sure there's you can find, if you look hard enough on the internet, on Twitter, you can find me any example of thing. But as a policy, I don't think I would walk into I could walk into work and see my male boss say to one of his female subordinates, "Wow, you're pretty clever for a woman." That wouldn't really fly in corporate America.
I felt they were obviously using the stage, obviously, to really beat this in. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously, it's very dramatic.
And on top of emboldening men's rights activists, the other thing I really hated was the idea that in my opinion, it reinforced. I mean, we're getting really political right here, but in my opinion, it reinforced gender roles in that it sort of established what it means to be a real man. And of course, Riker goes down the planet. He's got his big hairy chest sticking out, and man, oh man, did the women love him. They immediately, he meets this woman, and she immediately wants to fuck him, and so she fucks him. And then it's like, I forgot what it was like to be with a real man, someone who's not afraid to take charge and knows what he wants. I was just like, fuck you, show.
It was like they have a society that sissifies men and makes them inferior to an almost slave-like state, because every man you saw in that society was kind of a servant.
But not only was he a servant, the men who were servants were very feminine. Like the little guy, Trent, who was his assistant, he was this tiny little pipsqueak of a man. Just very petite in stature, had no hair. No body hair or facial hair is what I mean.
He was using perfume.
Using perfume, exactly. And so I think that it was an epic failure in it making you think of anything other than, is this really what this was basically a man's fantasy of liberating men who've been basically forced into these subservient feminine roles by women who are drunk on power, and all it takes is a real manly man to come in and save the day and put things right. That's how it came across to me.
Was this episode written by any women?
I will check for you, but I'm going to say no.
Because I'm saying it would have been very productive maybe to have a woman in the room to write this, because it does come off as in a kind of like pseudo misogynistic way. Like, yes, the women have power here, but in its storytelling, it's saying why women shouldn't be the aggressors. So it's
written and directed by a man.
Okay, it's just, as you said, it's just a very poor example of how that conversation could have went.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to. It was just slimy. It was slimy, and I didn't like it. In looking at this, apparently the cast at the time hated it for much of the same reasons. It did a poor job of talking about apartheid. Just on every thematic level.
Well, what about this as well? It's the women-driven society. She doesn't want Riker to go on the mission because you don't think the women can handle it? And then in the episode, the women don't handle it. So it's just really slapping people in the face left and right. Because it's showing that the crew of the Enterprise, the female staff, cannot complete the mission. If Riker was there, the mission probably could have been completed, is what they were probably trying to say. And it's very offensive to everyone involved. It's just a very poorly written episode. Now that you're saying this, now that we're really talking about this out loud, I'm really starting to see more and more pitfalls with it.
Yep. So we've discussed. Okay, so we've discussed our themes. The themes were a failure. So let's move on to, I guess, our next side, which is fairly closely related. The story, particularly in how do all these elements come into play? Because we have not one, not two, but three plot lines going. We have the events on the planet, which is, of course, the stranded people who escaped on escape pods are trying to be rescued by the Enterprise. You have the virus that is circulating on the Enterprise, and you have Romulans at the neutral zone. We've discussed the events on the planet. Unless you have any notes, we can go back.
Not really.
But we have this virus that just kind of shows up, and then what the fuck?
They don't really explain the virus besides the fact that it's a virus and it has symptoms of the cold. I find it funny that Wesley, literally in the episode before, says, "Oh, colds are a disease my mom told me people used to get," when Data is trying to figure out how to sneeze.
Yeah.
So I find it funny that the episode directly after has people with cold-like symptoms sneezing. Wesley and whoever the hell come out of the hologram vacation land, and they contract a cold from being out skiing, I believe, and they're all getting it.
Because
you don't think that?
No, because they specifically say when he comes out of vacation land, they smell something good. They say, "What's that smell? It reminds me of something." And then when Crusher is investigating Picard, she says that I recognize that smell. It causes. That makes sense that the virus would smell good, so you would specifically inhale it.
That's really dumb.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say about that when that came up.
And
that was really dumb.
I thought the episode was going to sort of have a wraparound in that it's there's there's 30 seconds to a minute of time devoted to discussing the perfume. I thought the perfume was going to somehow come into play. Either it was going to weirdly be a cure, or the perfume was the cause. And then I realized, well, the perfume never made it on the Enterprise, and then they just never discussed the perfume again ever. So the perfume was irrelevant. I thought that's how it was going to be linked. Yes.
You expect great things from this first season, I believe, and I believe you're not getting it.
Speaking of sneezes, just real quick, fun little side note. I highly recommend you watch this episode with subtitles. Specifically because when characters sneeze, there's a little subtitle in parentheses that says sneeze. Except for when Worf sneezes, when the subtitle actually says Klingon sneeze.
Why do you know that?
Well, because I have the subtitles on because I usually watch it on the subway on my way home. So it helps just because the subway's loud. If I don't want to turn up the volume and destroy my ears, so I usually have subtitles on.
Klingon sneeze.
Klingon sneeze. And so the disease was based. So here's what frustrates me is they needed to basically have a constraint for the 4 people on the planet. They wanted to have a reason for the 4 people to not beam up to the ship and leave, and they need an excuse for them to not immediately beam aboard the survivors. So they invent this disease as a reason to keep people off the ship. But then on top of that, they add the Romulan thing to add a sort of a ticking clock, sense of urgency. But you didn't really need either. You kind of just needed one or the other. Riker would either say, "Hey, they'd say, "Hey, Riker, we gotta go. We gotta stop these Romulans." He's like, "I can't. People are still down here." Or you'd say, "You can't beam them up because there's a disease." You don't need both.
My biggest issue, and they always seem to do this, is that they talk about some great thing that they need to be doing, and then by the time where they're all set and ready to go do that thing, the episode ends. Like they're going to go fight some Romulans right now.
Yeah, it's all the most interesting elements are always left off screen as either preceding or succeeding events. You never actually see them in the episode.
It seems like the prequels of Star Wars, where in Episode 3 or even in Episode 2, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are talking about all these crazy adventures they went on, and I was like, well, I would have liked to see a movie that consisted of those things instead of crappy Senate dialogue that I've been made to watch for 3 hours. Like, why don't they take these important elements that they want to be conversational pieces and actually make them reality? Because those are actually more interesting. I want to see a Romulan battle, honestly. I want to see what that would have been like and what struggles they do. And Picard actually being a captain in some sort of diabolical situation instead of him being a little bitch all the time, getting sick or being distracted by whatever the hell is going on with him. I think he's a bitch. I don't like Picard in comparison to Kirk.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's what I was going to ask you was, how was Captain Picard's captain duties this episode? Was he a good captain?
No, he's more, as I wrote in my notes, he is on screen more unfit to run the ship than he's ever fit to actually run the ship.
Yes.
I understand that Riker's going on the field. He's first command. And Picard needs to stay on the ship. I'm starting to get that. But, I mean, Kirk would go down and do shit. But Picard never seems to bother himself with going on the field and doing stuff. And when he's left on the ship, he always has his own little problem. So, who is this guy? How did he become a Starfleet captain? And why hasn't Riker been allowed to run his own ship? These are the questions I have.
And from what we've watched so far, especially now that ever since you pointed that out in episode 1, and I've been looking out for it, you're right. Picard is not really a captain right now.
Yeah, I would have been like, you know what, Picard, like if I was, who runs them? Who's Picard's boss?
There's various admirals. I don't know who. I don't think there's any particular admiral at this stage, at least.
Well, they should say, listen, we're going over your review. Okay, you're slacking, and this guy under you is doing great. We might just give him the ship. Someone's got to put a fire under this guy's ass so he can actually run the ship properly instead of being a little bitch every episode.
That's fair.
Also, in my notes, just seeing, even though we've left this part of the conversation, when everyone comes back on the ship, Crusher starts to vaccinate them for the virus. I would have figured needle sharing would have been a huge issue in the 20th century, but she's using the same thing to sterilize everybody with the disease. I'm like, doesn't she know about the virus that causes AIDS? Doesn't she know about that? She's a fucking doctor. You fucking idiot.
I assume there's got to be some.
I'm sure
Star
some
Trek
fan has made
explanation.
something up.
Yeah, for why you did it. That's fine to use the same instrument over and over on different people. I never thought about it before, but I'm sure there's a reason.
Honestly, my roommate and I were watching it, and we both said the exact same thing at the exact same time. Doesn't she know about AIDS?
That's funny. A couple last stray points, stray observations, stray things that are stupid. Why? It's amazing how immediately excited Beata was at that stupid little rock that just has a light in it. He's like, he takes it out and goes, this is a blocking meditation stone. He taps it and it lights up. She's like, how impressive. Is it impressive? You didn't use it for anything other than a light so far. So, what's the big fucking deal?
Maybe gets her on, man.
Yeah.
I think she chose the wrong person, though. Riker? I don't know. But I hear Data is fully functional.
As I hear that too.
I don't know why she wouldn't go for a more stunning man who probably has studied the art of sex within the 30 seconds of him reading about the entire history of it.
Well, he doesn't know about aphrodisiacs, though, so maybe he wouldn't be so good at sex.
He's pretty much a glorified sex robot. He doesn't need aphrodisiac, he's got it going on.
Luckily, Lieutenant Tasha Yar was on the planet with them, so she could vouch for him.
So she can.
Well, actually,
I thought they were gonna get on right after that perfume comment. I thought she was in some
Deanna Troy's banged Riker, so it's like a.
Deanna Troy. Let's talk about Deanna Troy.
Let's talk about Deanna Troy.
What's the one word that comes to mind when you think of Deanna Troy?
The word I usually think of is sensing, just because she says that a lot.
I think irrelevant.
That's fair.
Especially this episode. She said a few things. She felt a very general presence in the room that anyone could feel just by, I don't know, talking to people. Her observations are just, they're stuff that the audience can already pick up on. She doesn't really bring any real insight besides saying that she knows her inner thoughts or whatever the hell she says, but honestly, like, she is just a pretty face.
I would say it's even more insulting because her role in the episode, the whole reason she got involved had nothing to do with her skills as a as someone who's gone through training and as a professional. Her skills were, you're a woman, you should talk to them. The first thing that happens is when they establish communications, Picard says, Troy, you got tits, why don't you talk to him?
It's pretty much how it went. That's what I heard.
And other than that, she was just kind of there because she just is a woman. Not because she has any professional need to be there. Whereas Yar, you can always make the argument, well, she's security, she has a reason to be there. Troy, you're there because you're a girl. Go be a girl with it. And
they did. I mean, they easily could have fixed that by saying, you can sense people. Maybe they will respond to a female presence as well. So having her go down to analyze them, but also being a female face would help. But no, it's just you're a chick. You go be a girl. Have fun. Bring Yar with you. That's what it was. So yeah, so Troy, don't understand that.
Troy, useless. Riker, captain, and apparently very sexy. This episode sucks and is more insulting than it is good. Especially watching it in 2017. Yeah, I feel like...
Or 2018 for our viewers, if this is when it airs, who knows?
This is when it will air in 2018 if I've done my mental math properly.
Awesome.
Just for anyone who's curious, because obviously, I like to backstock videos because our schedules can be hectic at times. So we're recording this in August of 2017. So whether you're watching this in 2017 or 2018, who knows? But I can't imagine things would have changed that much in the 6 months it takes for us to air this. So
I don't know. 6 months move fast in 2016.
That's true. 2017 has been like 4 years worth of crazy things happening.
It's been. I mean, comment, like, subscribe on anything related to it, and link it to us because we want to have reminiscent memories of 2017 when this airs. Well, I think I don't have much to say about this episode besides what we covered.
Yeah, and I think we covered the most important parts of it. So I think that about wraps it up.
All right.
So, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you've enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, use whatever feedback you can on whatever platform you're tuning in on, and let us know how we're doing. We appreciate hearing from you guys. And we will see you next time when we discuss the episode 11001001. That's the name of the episode.
It sounds like it's a data episode, but I'm not going to get my hopes up.
I don't remember if it is or not. So, we'll just leave it at that. So, tune in next week when we talk about that episode, and thanks for listening this time. We will see you later.
Bye-bye.
Our Favorite Frontier is hosted by Alex Russo and Nick Caladona, edited by Alex Russo, and produced by Nerdy Inc. Be sure to follow us on YouTube to catch all of our videos, as well as like us on Facebook, Twitter, and whatever other social media we have.